There are two ways that you can move items in a location that has the bin mandatory. And the first one, the most simple one, is with an item reclassification journal. So let me open the item reclassification journal, and you probably already know the function because you can use it to go from a location to a new location. But by adding fields, you can also use it to go from a bin to a new bin, which is basically a movement. So let me add these fields through the personalize function. And here you will see that there is the field bin code. So let me put it here. And new bin code. All right, so let's return to the item reclassification journal, and now I can simply enter a line. So I can select the item number that I would like to move. So for example, the London swivel chair. I would like to do this in location north from location north. So I will also enter the quantity. So for example, 4 units. So by clicking on the bin code, the system shows you not the entire list of all bins, but it shows you the bin content. And that's of course very interesting, because now you know on which bins the item is located. So in this case, it's only located on one bin, so number 1. So that's of course then the one that we will select. And in the new bin code field, you enter to which bin you want to move it. So, and here of course you get the full list of bins because you can move it to any bin. So let's take number 6. So the quantity, as already mentioned, is 4, and now we can post the item reclassification journal. So by clicking on post, everything is posted, and now the item is moved. So if we check the item, so if I click here on the quantity on hand for this item, you can see that there are no item ledger entries created. So you don't find any item ledger entries for the posting that we just did. And that's basically because there are no item ledger entries required. So instead, the program has created 2 warehouse entries. So if you search for the warehouse registers, so that's another way to find the warehouse entries. So I will go to warehouse registers. And then you can see the different registers here. By looking at the source code, you recognize this one as the reclassification journal I just posted. So you can select the line, click on more options, navigate, register entries, and there you can see the 2 warehouse entries. So the movement from one bin to the other. So that's the first way to move items in locations that have the bin mandatory. Now the second way is through what we call inventory movements. So in there we need some additional setup. So basically you need to create number series. So let me quickly show you. If you go to the inventory setup, here on the numbering fast tab, if you want to use inventory movements, you have to configure a number series for the inventory movements, one for the registered inventory movements, and one for the internal movements. Now, inventory movements are created based on internal movements. So the internal movement is the instruction to the warehouse people to move items, but the actual moving of items is processed through the inventory movement. So let me create an example. So first, I will go to the internal movement. And here, as a warehouse manager, for example, I can suggest items to move. So I can click here on new. So I will assign a number, so based on the number series. And now I can enter lines. So for items like item 1908S. So from bin code to bin code, let me first enter a quantity 10. So then I can enter the from bin code. So I will use, of course, the first one because it has enough inventory, and then to bin code. So for example, number 8. So in that way, you can enter all the items that must be moved. So sorry, let me re-enter the quantity. But like I just said, this is more of an instruction that the warehouse manager will give to people in the warehouse to process the movement. Because here, by clicking on Create Inventory Movement, the movement document itself is created, and that's what the warehouse people will use to move items. So this is not actually registering the movements. It will create movement documents. So by clicking here on Create Inventory Movement, yes, you can see now that the inventory movement is created. And now the inventory movement document is just like an inventory put away or an inventory pick. It's the instruction to the warehouse people to move items. So if I search for inventory movements, you see that now we have one document. So let me show you. And this is now the inventory movement. So this is what the people in the warehouse can, for example, print. And this will instruct them to take items on bin number 1 and to place them on bin number 8. So, and when the physical movement took place, you can enter the quantity to handle. So I can click here on Process, Autofill Quantity to Handle to fill all lines at the same time. And then I can click on Process, Register Inventory Movement. And by doing this, the items are now actually moved in the warehouse.